Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me well. Well, good afternoon, and depending on where you are, good morning and good evening as well. Welcome to the first ever Economy of Communion Asia Pacific Summit. Let's have a round of applause. Let me get your hands up there. We clap, although I can't hear you. That's okay. Right, my name is Jonathan, and thank you for joining us here for these next 2 days. We're all gathered here from so many different countries and regions and cities. So let's give each other a warm welcome and definitely a big wow, because we've got people joining us from the other side of the planet as well. So let me pull up my little list here and say hello to all the countries and regions and cities. Right now, coming from South America, we've got people joining us from Colombia. From North America, we've got people joining us from the United States. And then as we take a short trip over to Europe, we say hello as well to the United Kingdom, Slovakia, Spain, Greece, Germany, Malta, the Netherlands, and Italy. And crossing over slightly a little bit more also to Africa, we say hello to Kenya, to South Africa, and then over to the Middle East, where we say hello to Lebanon, to the United Arab Emirates. And coming a little bit closer to us at last, right? We see hello to Asia, Pacific, and Oceania itself, where we have Australia, New Zealand, China, India, Indonesia, Japan, Myanmar, Macau, Malaysia, Thailand, Taiwan, Vietnam, and coming closer, Singapore, South Korea, and the Philippines. Welcome, everyone. Well, that was now I'm going to definitely take a few liters of water after reading out all that. Right. So in case some of you are here encountering the EoC for the very first time, well, welcome to you. Well, the EoC was founded in 1991 by UNESCO Peace Prize awardee Chiara Lubich. The Economy of Communion project is an initiative of the Focolare movement and is a concrete attempt to address acute social problems by creating a more inclusive economy, not only for businesses, but all of us who are part of this economy.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Teresa Go, and a big welcome to all of you as well. It is so moving gathering with everyone here today, despite the challenge of the pandemic at the moment. So the theme of the summit is Life, Light, Leaven. It is about life because it seeks to inspire daily actions towards an economy of communion. Light refers to the possibility of everyone in Asia Pacific to be that light for others in this path. And then Leaven is about nurturing concrete infrastructure for economic inclusion. Without further ado, I'm very honored to present to you our co-convener of EoC Asia Pacific, Madam Teresa Ganzon. Teresa is also a member of the International Commission of Economy of Communion, chairperson of Philippine EoC Commission, president of Bangkok Kabayan Foundation Incorporation, adjunct professor of Ateneo Leadership and Social Entrepreneurship Program for overseas Filipino workers. Teresa, over to you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm so happy to see everybody, and greetings to all of you. It's my honor to introduce our first guest speaker today. He was born in Ascoli, Piceno in 1966 and is a full professor in political economy at the Department of Law, Economics, Politics, and Modern Languages of the LUMSA University in Rome. After graduating economics in Ancona in 1989, he obtained a doctorate in the history of economic thought from the University of Florence in 1998 and picked up a second doctorate from the economics from the University of East Anglia, United Kingdom in 2004. He was handpicked by Chiara herself to be responsible for the Economy of Communion project after he caught the eye of the esteemed economist Professor Stefano Zamani, some 23 years ago. And today, he is a consultor of the Dicastery of the Laity of the Vatican, the president of the School of Civil Economy, and for many years, he has been writing a column in the Italian publication Avvenire. He's likewise the editor-in-chief of the journal International Review of Economics and director of Civil Economy Sciences, also at LUMSA in Rome. He served as a scientific director in the recently concluded international conference called by Pope Francis, The Economy of Francesco, a gathering of some 2,000 young people from all over the world, aged 35 and below, for the purpose of raising awareness, planning, and acting on the challenges of climate change, economics, and poverty, held last November in Assisi. On business ethics, he proposes a critical vision, debunking the myths and paradoxes of corporate social responsibility. His current research has focused on the role of motivations in economic and civil behavior, the virtues of the market, cultural economy, and communion. A prodigious writer, philosopher, economist, teacher. Our guest speaker has authored and co-authored numerous books in Italian and English, one of which has already been translated to Korean and another one on the way. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the one person who has found a way to express the deepest reflections, principles, and values of what the economy of communion is really all about, the International Director and Coordinator of EoC Worldwide, Professor Luigino Bruni. Welcome, Luigino.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Teresa, for this very generous and very nice presentation of my person and my activity. And I'm very happy, very honored to be here with you this my morning. Maybe is your afternoon, because today is a beautiful day for the whole network, the whole movement of the economy of communion. Is our 30th anniversary of this that can be called really a story of a divine story of love, of reciprocity, of gospel applied to economic and social life. Then thank you very much for this, for your words, and I want to address my talk just to bring to you all my personal friendship with all your countries, with all your persons, and also the international network that I'm representing here now. In few hours we start also our meeting in Italy, in many countries of the world. And 30 years are many for a human person, but not so much for a collective experience. Nevertheless, is enough for having enough good reason for celebration. The first reason to celebrate is that we are still here, we are still alive, and we are with the desire to continue the same adventure. The 30th anniversary comes in a special year for humanity, maybe the most terrible year and a half of 20th century after the world wars. A pandemic year that will leave humanity more unequal in income and opportunities than in 2019, where poverty has increased in the world. For instance, in Italy alone, poverty has increased by 20% in the last year. And this growth of poverty has made an economy of communion be more urgent and necessary today than before in this post-COVID society. Never before have we been so convinced as a whole that communion is the vocation of humanity, and that an economy of communion is the vocation of our time, is a sign of time of our world. Asia has a special friendship with the economy of communion. Philippines has been one of the countries where the economy of communion was welcomed, understood, and put into practice since the very beginning. I have personally come many times in Philippines, and I was astonished by, I just list some characteristics: purity, enthusiasm, generosity, and trust towards the proposal coming from Chiara. That was very impressive for me. Through the years, I have met Teresa and Francis Ganzon and their family of Banco Cabayan. I visit them many times. Tita and Renato of Ancilla, Floro and Tess Flores of APSEI, Asia Pacific Circulation Exponents Inc., and the other EoC firms of the first and latter times in Philippines. I would say, contemplated the fidelity and generosity of these people that continue to impress and move me. Some years later, EoC arrived to Korea and other Asia-Pacific countries that are here today. I'm very happy to see also your new Asia-Pacific world that is so promising for the economy of communion. I went a couple of times in Korea and I discovered another EOS paradise, I would say, with the outstanding example of Sangsim-dang that I visited. I was very much impressed. My trips to Korea have been among the most fantastic and fertile trips I never done for economy of communion in my life. Therefore, as in any celebration, the first word is, as you know, in any celebration, in any family, is thanks. Because the first sentiment is gratitude. Some of the first pioneers have arrived to heaven and continue to live the EoC there. We know that. My own, our first thanks go to them. Second, I would thank all the leaders of Asia-Pacific Economy Communion, Teresa, Lawrence, Amata, Fedes, and the many others who day by day are loving, pushing ahead, and fostering the seed of the economy of communion that now is becoming a small tree, a small but robust tree. The economy of communion is a totally people-based experience. The leaves, that lives and grows as long as there are people, concrete persons who believe and love the economy of communion. At least one person, because the critical mass of economy of communion is one, because we need at least one person, maybe two. Two is better because where two or three are gathered together, as you know, something special happens. And in many corners of your countries, the unhappy day when all the economy of communion would disappear, if even one person will start again living communion, the economy of communion will rise again. That we are a people-based experience. We are not a technique experience. We are not a business or a money, a financial experience. We live as long as we have people that believe, love in the economy of communion. Which are, in my opinion, the main challenges of the present and future of the economy of communion? First, the capacity of the present day economy of communion to attract and enchant new people, in particular, young people with a vocation. This is crucial. We are to become more and more attractive. Economy of communion has grown in these 30 years because of its capacity of attracting some excellent people like you, like Teresa, Francis, Lawrence, Tita, and many other people that have been attracted by this light, by this ideal. And these excellent people, in particular young people, because youth is the age of huge projects in life. Then we need young, excellent people that have donated their energy, sure, but also their intelligence and many talents to the economy community. The economy community is still alive because of many excellent people who have given their talents, energy, passion, love to the project. And will continue as long as we are able to attract new young people with so huge talents and vocation. We must continue to be attractive and fascinating for more excellent young people, the best youth of our countries. People of goodwill is necessary, but not sufficient. In the economy community, we need goodwill and good intelligence, quality young people, excellent people of will in business, in the academy, and the two that are the two intertwined soul of the economic community, business and academy, practice and ideas. Second challenge, don't stop to be in touch with people in poverty. The generativity of the economy communion comes mostly from its frequent contact, love, and friendship with people living in poor conditions. There, in their places, the seed of communion grow better and become tall trees. Living with the poor is not easy for non-poor people like me, and time in time can arrive the temptation to limit the economy of communion just to academic matters or business ethics. No, EoC is more than academic theory and business ethics, thanks to the presence of poor. If we forget this, we lose the core values of EoC. EoC is prophecy, is born for the prophecy of Chiara Lubick, as you know. If we don't keep high the degree of prophecy, EoC will decline or become just a sort of corporate social responsibility, as many other experiences in the world that are good, but is not enough. Finally, third challenge, to improve the capacity of networking with people and organizations close to the economic community. In the present economic and business community, there are many other potential friends and partners of the economic community who share our value, our ideas. We'll grow and discover our specific identity as an economic community as long as we dialogue with other realities similar to us, but also different, because generativity requires biodiversity. If we are too close, we have no children. If we are too similar, we have to be different for being generative. Finally, I would conclude this short address, short but with all my heart, with the short address quoting one of the sentences of the Bible most loved by Pope Francis, our friend, would say, our supporter. It's one sentence of the book of the prophet Joel that is very, very well known and very much quoted by the Pope itself. The prophet Joel said in chapter 3, your sons and daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams. Young prophecy, old men dreams. It's a beautiful verse that with the economy of Francesco, we change with the young people in this way. Your sons and daughters will prophesy if your old men shall dream dreams. If. Today, the young people of the economy and community will be prophets because EoC is prophecy, if adult men and women of the economic communion will continue to dream. Then let's continue dreaming together. Let's continue to be prophetic, because if the adult generation stop dreaming, the young generation stop to be prophetic, because the young generation needs the faith, the capacity of all the adult people to continue to dream. Then thank you very much. Really, I'm very, very, very happy of these 2 days of work, these 2 days of celebration, and what is going on in Asia Pacific. I'm so proud of you, and all my love, all my friendship, all my unity to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is always joy and an enriching experience to listen to you. Thank you, Professor Luigino Bruni, for sharing with us the history of the economy of communion in the past 30 years, especially in Asia, and the challenges we face moving forward. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I have the privilege of introducing our distinguished keynote speaker, a graduate of political science from the University of the Philippines. Our speaker went on to earn a master's degree in business management with distinction from the Asian Institute of Management. He was likewise recognized as an outstanding alumnus of the same prestigious school. Our speaker began his career as a banker and is currently the publisher of the Manila Bulletin, the oldest broadsheet newspaper in the Philippines. In between his various involvements in the private sector, as an esteemed manager, a consultant, and an academician, he lent his management expertise to the grateful Filipino nation, serving in cabinet-level positions under 3 of the last 6 presidents of the Philippines. In this capacity, he represented the country in many international conferences and functions. Amidst his illustrious career as all of the above, he found time to acquire a doctoral degree in philosophy from the Southeast Asia Interdisciplinary Development Institute. It is indicative of his interest and that he chose dissertation on spirit-driven organizations, featuring, among others, 2 EoC enterprises, along with another group, grassroots microfinance organization, who were from the predominant capitalist model. Ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed guest speaker is a kindred spirit and an active advocate of the economy of communion. Even before the birth of the EoC Asia Pacific, where he was one of the first to sign up as a member. Shortly after the EoC Asia Pacific was launched in January 2021. And I remember collaborating with and listening to him speak about the economy of communion 10 or 15 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the Honorable Herminio Sunny Coloma.
Ms. Teresa Ganson and Mr. Lawrence Chong, co-conveners for EoC Asia Pacific, participants in this inaugural summit of the EoC Asia Pacific Network, good afternoon. On the 30th anniversary of the economy of communion, we have chosen the theme of Life, Light, Leaven. How do we measure the worth of our lives? By being willing to shine the light of hope amid the fear, anxiety, and desolation wrought by the pandemic. At this summit, we are mobilizing our collective intellectual leaven, We are joining hands to transform our world for the better. COVID-19 has reshaped political, socioeconomic conditions, raising the urgency for a rethink of the economic system. According to the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, or ESCAP, the pandemic has spawned the worst crisis in Asia Pacific since World War II. Widespread job losses and worsening of poverty have plunged our economies into deep recession. The focus of the summit is inclusion, and rightly so. In 2016, or long before the onset of COVID-19, a group of scholars described the huge chasm between the haves and the have-nots. The 1.2 billion poorest people account for 1% of global consumption, and 1 billion richest consume 75% of global GDP. In a measure of extreme absurdity, the 62 richest people in the world have amassed the same wealth as the poorest 3.6 billion. Half of the world is owned by no more than a tiny elite whose members could all sit comfortably in a train carriage, while those at the bottom of the pyramid are struggling to meet their basic needs. This is how the stark inequality in our region is described by economists. The region's combined income inequality, measured by the Gini coefficient, has increased by over 5 percentage points in the last 20 years, contrary to almost all other regions. Income inequalities grew in almost 40% of all countries. China, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and Singapore experienced sharp increases. In simple terms, the net worth of the region's billionaires was more than 7 times the combined GDP of the region's least developed countries. How did we get to where we are now? In current history, every year in time is Anno Domini, the year of the Lord. Before AD, the calendar years were reckoned as BC, or before Christ. In the book Real Wealth of Nations, Rian Eisler pointed out that the original orthodoxy was symbolized by the chalice, Christ sharing his blood for the redemption of mankind. Then the exploration of the vast oceans led to conquests. Global empires were established. Control of vast resources from the land and the seas was achieved and maintained by the force of arms. The blade replaced the chalice as the symbol of power. Domination became the new orthodoxy. The capitalist corporation became the principal engine of economic growth. Scale production became the principal driver of growth. The wealth of nations was measured by gross domestic product and gross national product. 2 world wars were fought to determine which countries would rule the world. Capitalism won each time. Fast forward to the last decade of the 20th century. Nature's vengeance unmasked unbridled capitalism. Climate change triggered natural disasters that ravaged the poorest nations. Ultra-high levels of carbon emission from the largest nations continued to rise. Inevitably, the winds of change blew mightily, inviting consideration of change scenarios and options. Is it still possible to reform the present system? Or must there be more serious consideration of a change in system, a change in paradigm? Stirrings of reform began to be felt, even as participants at the annual World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, marveled at the dizzying pace of digital transformation that has ushered in the fourth industrial revolution. They too came to terms with the imperatives of environment, sustainability, and governance. In December 2020, An extraordinary meeting took place at the Vatican. 27 CEOs of large global corporations were gently reminded by Pope Francis to include the excluded and work with the poor. They formed the Guardians of Inclusive Capitalism, a group of individuals and institutions with more than 10.5 trillion US dollars in assets and companies, with a combined market capitalization of more than $2 trillion and 200 million employees in 163 countries. They joined together to include the excluded in the capitalist system and wanted Pope Francis as their torchbearer. Ahead of inclusive capitalism, the term stakeholder capitalism had emerged. Essentially, it is an advocacy for aligning the financial interests of the owners of enterprise with those of other stakeholders. And then there was some special mention of doing something for lower income communities. Paul Polman, Unilever CEO from 2009 to 2019, is the prime example of the power of one, what a single company can do when led by an enlightened CEO. Unilever pivoted and re-engineered its businesses, reaching 1.3 billion people through health and hygiene programs, reducing the total waste footprint per consumer use of products by 32% and achieving zero waste to landfill across all factories, reducing greenhouse gas emissions from manufacturing by 65% and 100% renewable grid electricity across sites, reducing sugar across all sweetened tea-based beverages by 23%, and 56% of foods portfolio now meets recognized high nutrition standards, enabling 2.34 million women to access initiatives aiming to promote their safety, develop their skills, or expand their opportunities, move towards a gender-balanced workplace in which 51% of management roles are held by women. Indeed, that's the power of one giant multinational corporation led by an enlightened CEO. Brands with purpose grow. Companies with purpose last. People with purpose thrive. Let me now tell you about Glacier, a chain of cold storage facilities in the Philippines. After establishing plants in several major regional centers of the country, Glacier set up a plant in northern Samar. About 37% of families in northern Samar, just like those in the rest of the island, are considered poor. The owners of Glacier established a pioneer plant as an intentional poverty reduction initiative to raise farm incomes and to lower the cost of food. This is a sterling example of enlightened governance, of inclusive capitalism. From Unilever and Glacier, we have gleaned powerful examples of a paradigm shift. Clearly, there is need to replace the dominator paradigm and restore the partnership paradigm. From the dominator paradigm of cutthroat competition and survival of the fittest, from capitalism as the unbridled accumulation of wealth, we could glean the manifestations of a new paradigm of inclusion, sharing, and caring. While we acknowledge that the concepts of inclusive capitalism are beneficial, we must also realize that these would not bring about an end to inequality. We need to acknowledge the contribution of the following in the creation of the real wealth of nations: mothers who give birth to and raise children, volunteers and activists who work for social and economic equity and advocate the protection of the environment for sustainable development. Allow me to focus on the work of Gawad Kalinga in harnessing the faith and generosity of Filipinos the world over to confront poverty in their homeland and to provide every Filipino the dignity of a decent home and neighborhood. Gawad Kalinga believes in building a nation one community at a time, and this takes place through a three-part process: restoring dignity, empowering communities, caring for resources, empowering families to build their own brightly colored homes. GK provides these families with basic needs like land, food, and security, bringing dignity back to the lives of the poor. Gawad Kalinga then links communities to partners that help them plan and implement the programs that address sickness, hunger, and education. The partners also connect impoverished individuals to government resources that provide longer-term sustainable support. By helping community members take on leadership roles and provide for their own future, GK is building communities from the ground up and tackling poverty at the base level. Every year since 2006, Gawad Kalinga has been conducting a Bayani Challenge youth camp. In view of the pandemic, this year's Bayani Challenge is designed to enable civic-spirited Filipinos to participate in place and to internalize the causes being espoused through voluntary, personal acts or good deeds. Through 9 weeks leading to the celebration of Philippine Independence Day in June, the focus is on attaining freedom in the following aspects: freedom from sickness, illiteracy, pollution, financial constraints, food insecurity, lack of usable water, hunger, apathy, and freedom towards positive change. Each of the freedoms celebrated weekly provides a platform for individual action, framed as personal acts of courage or valor, or simply self-improvement. Little acts of kindness could send ripples of generosity that would generate a tide or groundswell of hope. This week's challenge is to work toward attaining freedom from hunger, raise funds for meals, donate in kind, and organize a feeding activity focusing on children, senior citizens, and pregnant women. 6 weeks ago, Ana Patricia Non set up the first community pantry on Maginhawa Street and unknowingly launched an initiative that literally spread a virus of kindness nationwide. Let's now listen in to a dialogue between two economists. Why do economists prescribe solutions that ruin the economy and ecology? Dr. Sixto Rojas answers, that's easy. They choose the firm rather than the household as their basic unit of analysis. The word economics comes from the ancient Greek word oikonomia, meaning household management, and the classical economists viewed the economy through that lens. When the founders of contemporary economics sought to raise economics to the stature of a science by basing it on a mathematical model, they chose the firm because its transactions are monetized and therefore already quantified. Economists have since viewed the economy through the lens of the profit-seeking firm rather than that of the life-seeking household. Indeed, an economic model whose basic unit is the profit-seeking and profit-making firm instead of the life-seeking household has not been totally beneficial to humanity. So we return to our focal point in this summit. How do we create a more inclusive economic system in a lopsided world characterized by inequality? I invite you to visualize this reflection from David Corten, a prominent critic of corporate globalization, who authored When Corporations Rule the World. He also authored a book on Agenda for a New Economy. An image came to mind of development as a pool of money is spreading out across the Asian countryside, consuming life wherever it touched. It was as if money itself had become an evil motive force, absorbing intelligent and highly defined living beings and communities to grow its own featureless bulk. Money consuming life to grow money. Consumed by our quest for money, we fail to notice that we have relinquished control of our lives to the institutions that control our access to money. We accept our enslavement to institutions for which we are merely a means to an end, alien to our own existence and well-being. He presents two alternatives. We will prosper in the pursuit of life, or we will perish in the pursuit of money. The choice is ours. As we believe in the economy of communion, let us choose to prosper in the pursuit of life. Thank you all.
Good afternoon to our dear Secretary Herminio Sani Coloma Jr. On behalf of the men and women of the economy of communion in the Asia-Pacific region, please accept our sincerest gratitude for your lecture entitled, and I quote, "How Asia Can Shape an Inclusive Economic System." Thank you for walking us through the different scenarios that led to the realities of the huge chasm between the haves and the have-nots and the measured inequality in Asia-Pacific. In the midst of the challenges in front of us, the steerings of reform and readiness of capital to take counsel from Pope Francis give hope to include the excluded. While paradigm shifts and concrete actions may not bring an end to inequality, the pursuit of an inclusive economic system gives hope to the fulfillment of the inspiration behind the launching of the concept of the economy of communion in Brazil in 1991, that no one among them was in need. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Coloma, and also Floro. All right, before we go for a break, we will have our picture taken. We know it is not easy, but it is how we will do it, the very EoC APAC way. So can we just now try to switch on all your cameras
so that we can
so
see
that if you would like to be
everyone's
taken
very
photos, yeah, if you would
beautiful
like to take a photo.
smiles.
Yes, and then we will smile, and then we will have Vince, who is our professional Zoom photographer, portrait photographer. He will just screenshot
Are we
everybody.
just going to do one serious shot, or are we going to do one fun one? Because it is the 30th anniversary, right? So I kind of had a pose planned for something like this, like a 3 and a 0.
You can do that
You're
any way
covering
you
my
like.
face, but maybe it looks. We have to get the hands the correct way in case your video is mirroring or something.
Yes,
But
so
we'll do
before we
nice
go,
shot where
and then
the smile,
Kenna will put all of us in gallery form so that we will put everyone in, just like in a hall where we have to stand, okay? So we can start now. You can pose however you like.
Okay, so we're gonna. So remember, because this is Zoom, when you smile, you gotta hold there for a few seconds until someone here says okay. Okay, right? Vince, are we ready?
Yes, so
Okay.
when you are ready, please turn on your camera. Look at your camera, okay? Not look on the screen. Because we have over 200 of participants, so it will take a while. If you're going to take your hands up, please hold it. So
Okay,
if you want to do that, your left hand should be on the left. Right hand is a 0, okay? I mean the left hand is the 3. Sorry, the opposite. Your right hand is 3. Your right hand, okay? Your right hand is 3. Your left hand is 0. Don't follow me because mine is mirrored. Okay, so get ready. It will take a few minutes, okay? 1, 2, 3. Again. Next one. 1, 2, 3. So far, so good. 1, 2, 3. 5 more. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 more. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for the great crowd. Last one.
Right.
1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Very
Thank you,
nice.
Vince. Thank you all. It is really, we have so far 209 participants. That's why we need 9 pages. The 9 times of the group photo, you know?
I need to go for a cheek massage.
Yes,
Coincidentally,
well
isn't
done.
it time for our break, Teresa?
Yes, it is time for our break. So now take a time off and then from the screen and also stretch your legs a little bit. Maybe have a nice cup of coffee or tea. And we will see you back here at 3:10.
3:10.
Am I right, John?
That is correct. Singapore time. Don't wait for the next.
Right.
Yeah. Singapore
So
time.
yes,
very
Singapore
important.
time, come back at 3:10. We will start right away, so you can come in earlier. We might let you in. So you do not have to leave this Zoom. You just have to switch off your camera and switch off your microphone as well. All right. So we will see you afterwards at 3:10 Singapore
Enjoy
time.
your break. See you soon.
See you soon.
All right, everyone's back. Okay, welcome back again to the EoC Asia Pacific Summit 2021. Now we are all refreshed to listen to more exciting content from our speakers. So for the next speaker, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with him. Apologies for the pauses I'll take. Is also to give the translators a chance to catch up. He's no stranger to the EoC Asia Pacific, but if you're not, Teresa, he's a really good friend of ours, isn't he, Teresa?
Oh, yes, yes. Well, okay, so since you know him too well, I will introduce him as well.
Yes, please.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with our next speakers. So he is no stranger to EoC Asia Pacific, but if you're not, don't worry. He's a great friend and a big brother. Convener of EoC Asia Pacific, Mr. Lawrence Chong from Singapore. He will be sharing with us the EoC Asia Pacific's plan for impact. Over to you, Lawrence.
Thank you, guys. Good afternoon, everyone. More than a year ago, when COVID-19 raged and put a hard stop to the machinations of the world, a few of us in the economy of communion in Asia gathered online to discuss what can we do to grow this idea of the EoC beyond what we have right now. Before that meeting, I often wondered about the purpose and even relevance of the economy of communion in today's world, especially one that's been changed by the pandemic. Millions have lost their jobs, while the 1% continue to make billions. And while everyone needed vaccines, some of the wealthiest nations hoarded or made attempts to hijack shipments to deny countries, many of them poor, the rightful access to vaccines. The list goes on. Seeing the systemic ineffectiveness of capitalism, even the hypocrisy of it, exposed, it strengthened my belief and resolve that the vision of Kara Lubick 30 years ago is not only relevant. Instead, it is like the vaccine we need for a different form of capitalism, one where everyone feels included and can share in the goods of the economy. In fact, before launching this concept of the EoC, Chiara offered this poetic and beautiful vision of the economy. She said, and I quote, "Every person in the working world, from the owner to the administrator, from the director to the technicians, from office workers to laborers, in order to build solidarity with others, must love everyone in such a way that he or she becomes one with the others. In this spirituality, mutual love leads to reciprocal understanding, to sharing in the fatigue of the others, to making our own the problems of the others, and to seeking solutions together. It leads us to find common agreements for new forms of organizations in the working world. All come to share and participate together in the means of production and in the fruits and profits. Imagine what kind of economy we will be able to create if every organization of the economy seeks to act in this way. This, in my view, is not some idealism or even socialism. It is at the heart of what is needed to make any sensible economic system work, by ensuring fair and equitable participation of every person. This kind of approach to a fraternity at work needs to be the rule of rules, to overcome selfish interests that kills and deprive human dignity. Only in this way, a new form of practical and inclusive love can we replace or renew certain institutions who have become so capable of gaming the system for their own selfish gains, depriving many of their rightful place of participation. At the same time, as a movement, we have to reflect on why we have not grown as much and wide in order to have a greater impact. In his speech to the EoC movement in 2017, Pope Francis gave this gift of critical reflection. And I often measure my actions in the EoC according to his speech. And he said this: the economy of communion, if it wants to be faithful to its charism, must not only care for the victims, but build a system where there are ever fewer victims, where possibly there may no longer be any. As long as the economy still produces one victim and there is still one single discarded person, communion has not yet been realized, the celebration of universal fraternity is not full. Therefore, we must work towards changing the rules of the game of the socio-economic system. Imitating the Good Samaritan of the gospel is not enough. From Chiara's vision and this helpful critical reflection of Pope Francis, we understood that our faithfulness to the spirit of the EoC is to be able to change the economic system. This is how we have derived our light from shaping our strategy for impact as we seek to grow in the Asia Pacific beyond 2021. Since December, at the founding assembly, with so many of you, we have presented the strategic outline that a few of us have prepared for almost 7 months. I like to explain it according to the theme of this summit to provoke thought and action for every one of us in the coming year. First, how can we be light in our environments to inspire an economy of communion? Over the last 30 years, we have learned that some people think that EoC is hard to achieve or is too idealistic. So our priority is to devote more time and effort towards sharing daily experiences on how each one of us in different roles put it into practice. This is why we have developed different membership groups like professionals, academe, enterprise, to create nurturing cells to encourage each other. Tomorrow's program is entirely devoted to sharing how each one practices the concepts of the EoC in our lives. We intend to be very systematic in this so that more people will understand that EoC does not start with an enterprise. It starts today in our homes, offices, universities, and it starts with our daily actions. Then, related to this, Many people are shy and they feel that their experience is not good or great enough. But dear friends, this sense of fear is holding us back from impacting an inclusive economy. So we have to be bold to let our light shine. So we hope that we can get everyone here to try and share one experience with us on how you tried to put the concepts of the economy of communion into practice. So if we can aim 1,000 stories of impact in small and big ways, then we can go a long way to show how the EoC is possible and it is happening. We want to invite you here, right now. If you can take out even your phone, share what inspires you to shape an economy of communion in your social media, on your Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and tell the world, why are you in this event? Why are you living the EoC in your life? If you can do this with us, it will be a great personal start. Second, how can we generate life to grow the network of the economy of communion? The next significant challenge is how to bring in a greater diversity of people into the network and the younger generation in order to generate life. Traditionally, the EoC in Asia, since it was an initiative of the Focolare movement, has involved more Catholics. However, it has always been our intent to reach out to groups beyond our usual communities. With this new structure of the EoC Asia Pacific, and when the new statutes are put in place by next year, any member of this network, regardless of belief, country, race, can rise up to the highest levels of leadership in EoC Asia Pacific. So as we shape the EoC Asia Pacific to be more inclusive through the institutions, we will have greater opportunities to impact a better economy. Next, if you notice, we have almost 50% of the speakers for these 2 days under the age of 40 years old. This is intentional. We treasure all the EoC leaders and all the EoC members who have a lot of experiences in life. They are important. They are not to be discarded. What we only want is to bring in the younger people as well, so that they have a chance to lead and they have a chance to share with us their thoughts. And this session, we will invite the young leaders to share their thoughts to conclude today. We will be intentional in bringing in young people into leadership positions in the EoC, and we will put in place succession plans to renew the EoC movement throughout the region so that we are ready for the next decade or more. Third, how can we be the leaven to give rise to structures for an economy of communion? If we wish to have an impact, then we must be realistic about our resources. In my talks throughout Asia to promote EoC, I found that many are interested in shaping an inclusive economy. But in many situations, there are few in each country. Literally, like what Luigino said just now, 1, 2. So, by coming together as a network, we will achieve economics of scale and support one another. We plan to help build capacity of a growing number of national networks of EoC, and EoC in India, EoC in Malaysia, EoC in Indonesia, EoC in Vietnam, so on and so forth, so that we can have a real influence on policymakers and entrepreneurs at the local level. Next, EoC in our region tends to be organized in an ad hoc manner. If you have someone who is very enthusiastic, something happens. If the person is tired, nothing happens. So if we want to have an impact, we need to have a proper secretariat, and we need to set for ourselves a process to grow a competent secretariat. This is another crucial pillar because if we want to amplify our impact on poverty, increase our influence, we need to have a professional coordinating team to help us. So sharing resources from the whole network matters. And this process of trying to make EoC Asia Pacific a sustainable endeavor, not an ad hoc activity, will matter in the next 1 to 2 years. Finally, if we want the EoC to be adoptable in a pragmatic way, we have to learn from the climate change movement, where they have clearly defined impact, standards, processes. They are also open source. We intend to put together a central resource of practical standards and procedures to impact an economy of communion for individuals, enterprises, non-profit entities, and even policymakers to adopt. So we hope that with the above, by being the light, the life, and the leaven, we can live up to the vision of Chiara and the hope of Pope Francis by changing the socio-economic system of the Asia Pacific towards one of communion where no one is in need. Thank you. So now for the exciting part, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next keynote speaker, who will deliver the EoC Asia Vision keynote on the topic of future of the united world through the economy. Now, before she comes online, let me briefly present the profile of Margaret, who was just elected president of the global movement of the Focolare, which is present in 182 nations, a group that actively promotes unity and dialogue in society in the realm of religions, civil society, economy, and politics. Margaret Karam was born in Haifa, Israel, in 1962 into a Palestinian Catholic family. She holds a BA in Jewish Studies from the American Jewish University in the United States. She has held various positions for the Focolare in Los Angeles and in Jerusalem. Her past experience includes membership of various commissions and organizations for the promotion of dialogue between the three monotheistic religions, such as the Episcopal Commission for Interreligious Dialogue, the Assembly of the Catholic Ordinances of the Holy Land, and the ICCI, Interreligious Coordinating Council in Israel. She worked for 14 years at the Consulate General of Italy in Jerusalem. Since 2014, she has been at the International Center of the Focolare as counselor for Italy and Albania and co-responsible for dialogue between ecclesial movements and new Catholic communities. She speaks Arabic, Hebrew, Italian, and English. In 2013, she received the Mount Zion Award for Reconciliation, together with the scholar and researcher Ishka Harani, for their commitment to developing dialogue between different cultures and religions. In 2016, she received the St. Rita International Award for having promoted dialogue between Christians, Jews, Muslims, Israelis, and Palestinians, starting from people's everyday life. Now she's here for us. Dearest Margaret, good morning. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to join us from Rome.
Warm greetings from Rome to all of you, participants of the Economy of Communion Asia Pacific Summit. Thank you for inviting me to this important event. It has a twofold significance, since it also marks the 30th anniversary of this economic model that began in 1991 from an intuition of Chiara Lubich during her trip to Brazil. Gifted with the charism of unity, she could not help but be moved by the big gap which she witnessed between the rich and the poor. She strongly felt that it had to be addressed if the movement has to pursue its aim of contributing towards the realization of Jesus' prayer, "May they all be one." This triggered in her a human divine inspiration. We could help the needy not only by giving them material aid, but also by working with existing business enterprises and even creating new ones founded on the spirit of being a family in which no one is in need. I can still remember that initial period. It was like a return to the life of the early Christians in Jerusalem, bound together in one heart and one soul. When Chiara launched the EoC, there was a great zeal and the courage to take risks out of love for disadvantaged brothers and sisters. It truly demanded a great faith and trust in God and His guiding light, so that every step to be taken with the necessary professional expertise would lead to the common good. Now, 30 years have passed. Many of the pioneers have handed down their business enterprises to the younger generation, who are bringing them ahead with the drive and enthusiasm characteristic of their age. There have been many challenges. For example, the one we are living now with the COVID pandemic, but also lots of opportunities to grow and to work with many others who aspire for a different economy. An economy that is centered on the human person and that has as its goal communion and the welfare of the most deprived. The love that pushes entrepreneurs to reach out to the marginalized has been expressed in different ways. This can be seen from the variety of business enterprises linked with the economy of communion, established and managed with creativity, each one a positive response to the demands of the times. What is the role of the EoC Asia Pacific in this overall effort to change the face of the economy? I firmly believe it has a precious contribution to give. First of all, this part of the world is the home of a variety of cultures and religions. Each one has its specific characteristics, but all of them are deeply rooted in the so-called rule, which says, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Do you want to earn a good living to support your family? Do you want your children to grow up in a peaceful and harmonious environment? Surely this is what you must also desire for every neighbor, for every citizen of your country. This law of love is the DNA of every human being, but we must seek to awaken it and to change the existing mindset of today's society characterized by indifference and consumerism. The EoC Asia Pacific, which nurtures business enterprises, first of all, with the spirit of reciprocity, can surely help transform the economy of the region and even beyond, and consequently shape the world into a better place to live in. I happily imagine a growing network of entrepreneurs, professionals, students, and scholars in the economic environment from different backgrounds, cultures, and religions, whose priority is to work together for the good of the peoples of Asia Pacific. This unique possibility of putting together ideas, knowledge, and resources in order to reach the common goal of a better world calls for dialogue. In Asia, the cradle of many religions, this also takes place in the context of interreligious dialogue. Let me give you an example. The School for Oriental Religion, SOAR, of the Focolare movement organized a course in 2019 on the theme Proposing Alternative Models of Poverty Alleviation in the Experience of Religions. Yes, there is the innate desire in all people, regardless of race, of religious belief, to live and work together for equality and solidarity, for a more humane and just society. I also believe that many people of the Asia-Pacific region have a knack for business. Many have thriving commercial activities. Introducing them to the EoC could certainly help change the course of the economy, since enterprise is the main engine for the economy. I know that some of our EoC initiatives have gone through difficult times, but they have survived. How? By maintaining their faith and convictions and the certainty that they are not alone. They can surely move on together with their brothers and sisters in the EoC network. The EoC network is, in its own way, like a family, a planetary socioeconomic family. And the Asian culture is centered on the family, could truly be a fertile ground for the continuing progress of this initiative. The EoC Asia Pacific gives me great hope. I believe that each one of you can keep the spirit of communion always alive, also in your day-to-day living. And if your business enterprises remain faithful to the commitment that they have taken, you can truly give a powerful response to the challenges of today's world. It doesn't matter if you are just beginning, if you are still few, the light, life, and leaven that you aim to be in the midst of the world is not measured by numbers or statistics. What matters, as Pope Francis said to the participants of the Economy of Communion Congress in 2017, is not to lose the active ingredient, the enzyme of communion. Communion is not only the sharing, but also the multiplying of goods. I wish you every success for this promising endeavor, which demonstrates a sincere, fraternal concern for the good of the human family. Thank you again for your generosity and your every effort to bring ahead together Chiara's dream of building a new and united world. Thank you.
안녕하세요. 한국의 아마따입니다. 먼저 EoC 30주년을 맞아 EoC를 통한 일치된 세계의 미래에 대해서 말씀해 주신 마가렛 카렘에게 감사드립니다. 포클라레의 새 회장으로서 바쁘심에도 불구하고 오늘 이렇게 함께 해주셔서 여기 있는 모든 이들과 특히 아시아와 세계에서 모인 젊은이들에게 많은 영감을 주셔서 감사드립니다. 저는 10년 전 EoC 탄생 20주년을 맞아 브라질 마리아폴리 지네타의 총회를 참석한 것이 떠올랐습니다. 30년 전 끼아라가 브라질 기업인들에게 EoC의 삶을 청했을 때 그들은 주저하거나 머뭇거리지 않고 즉시로 네라고 답했습니다. 그들은 끼아라에 대한 신뢰를 지니고 아무도 가지 않은 길을 가는 개척자와 같았습니다. 그들의 그러한 삶이 있었기에 오늘날 EoC의 현실이 있다고 생각합니다. 끼아라는 상파울루시의 그 불평등한 현실을 보면서 브라질의 기업인들에게 친교와 나눔의 대리인이 될 것을 청하였습니다. 총회 마지막 날 예언이 역사가 되다라는 주제로 세계에서 온 젊은이들은 세계 경제가 2031년까지 나눔과 공유의 경제가 되자고 각자 자기의 나라의 언어로 선포하였습니다. 그리고 10년이 지났고 이제 10년이 남았습니다. 전 세계가 팬데믹으로 인해 더 극심해진 빈곤과 환경 문제는 이제 머뭇거릴 때가 아니라 즉시로 우리들의 삶의 방식을 바꿔야 할 때입니다. 한국에서도 많은 기업들이 무너지고 또 개인이 파산하는 등 사회적인 혼란이 있지만 이 시기야말로 바로 EoC의 경제 방식이 필요한 때라고 생각합니다. 우리도 세상의 많은 유혹 앞에서 EoC 정신을 지니고 우리의 기업을 실현해 나갈 것입니다. 또한 일자리를 찾고 있는 청년들과 이주민들에게 보편적인 형제를 지니고 EoC의 씨앗과 소금, 누룩이 될 것을 약속합니다. 다시 한번 키아라 루비카 마가렛 카람 그리고 EoC 1세대 기업인들과 EoC 미래의 깃발을 짊어질 젊은이 모두에게 감사와 축하드립니다. 감사합니다.
Wow. And welcome back here to hearing my voice, everyone. Just nice from Amata. Amata, will you be saying anything else to us? Where's Amata? There we go. Hi, Amata. So just nicely, she said in her talk earlier that she's handing over the flag, and just totally apt for this point of time. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. The next generation of leaders and the people who will carry on the legacy of 30 years are, of course, the EoC's current crop of younger leaders in their respective fields and organizations. And of course, I use the word young very loosely in this term, right? I'm not that young myself, but younger, right? Regardless of religious beliefs. Now, our next segment, Voices of the Future Generation, is all about hearing from this group and how the EoC has impacted them and shaped the way they lead and what they do. So our speakers will share a little bit about themselves, and we'll be moving on into a little Q&A after that, which everyone here, of course, you're welcome to post your questions in the chat group. You can direct it to the speakers, and we'll take care of them after all of us are done speaking. And of course, what do you know? I am actually the first speaker in this case, so let me do a little share screen here. Okay, I hope you all can see that. Please nod if you can. It's so nice seeing more than 200 people nodding their head. All right, perfect. So again, greetings to everyone. Again, I believe by now you already know who I am. However, just for the benefit of those who might have just joined us, my name is Jonathan. Right? Don Ellis Francis is my surname, but my name is Jonathan. And I come from this little island called Singapore. And I'm currently director at the Brand Theatre Private Limited, brand consulting firm founded in 1997. I'm not an entrepreneur because in 1997, I was about, how old? 13? Yeah. I'm not an entrepreneur, but I was given the opportunity to run this company, which I have been doing for the last 3 years. Now, the EoC is filled with so many inspirations. My first encounter with the economy of communion came in 2016 when I was in the Philippines in Tagaytay for the EoC Congress. And at that time, I was in a mid-level position in my company. It was an experience that really left a lasting impression on me, especially with what Teresa Ganzon was doing with Banco Kabayan, right? That really left a lasting impression. It was the way they ran their business, the way they treated people that really, really got my attention. I heard firsthand how microfinancing could make such a big impact on the lives of people, and why businesses must understand that having a social component to their business does not mean operating like a charity, which is often the general perception of people. You can also be influenced by friends, good friends, friends who can go way, way back, right? I was 15 years old. You see Lawrence there at 21, right? Also highlighting the age gap between Lawrence and myself. Hence, I'm not that young. So my pathway to leadership was also forged by being exposed to and influenced by Lawrence, and with also how he leads Consulus, the company that he's part of. When I was eventually offered my role, it was given under very difficult circumstances. and I had to steer the ship through very choppy waters. However, even amid such uncertainty, I had to, in whatever way possible, remold the company to represent the values and principles which make the EoC. So I quickly realized, exactly how fractured and disunited the company was. And one of the first things I instituted was a weekly Friday evening meeting where each person, would share about their week, their interests, challenges, both professional and personal. Now, of course, it took some time for people to open up about their personal lives, but once they did, there were many opportunities for us to band together as a company to lend support or a helping hand to one another. A culture, such as this is uncommon in Singapore, and some might even find it a waste of time, but it helped to build bridges and bonds as a team. I also schedule one-on-one chats, with my team to get to know them better, understand what their hopes and dreams are for the future, and hopefully be the one to help them on their way towards those goals and dreams. I think as leaders, we cannot kid ourselves, that an employee would remain in our employment forever. And if indeed it is a new challenge anyone seeks, then I would make sure to prepare this person as best as possible to land that next job. We had also tried to ensure that even though we faced uncertainty because of COVID-19, the leadership would fight hard to ensure every staff member got paid on time and without salary cuts. We even managed to increase salaries for some people by a little bit during this time, especially when we found out that some of our employees were struggling because of lost household income due to the pandemic. To us, the profits would follow later, but it was now time to take care of our people first. I knew too that my journey could not just focus on the internal side of things, but it was important to try to influence my clients to indirectly support what the EoC is about and to do their part to lift people and situations around them. As such, I overhauled part of our consulting framework to ensure that it would have a component to ensure that a company evaluates its role in the community, not only in regards to helping the poor, but how the business operates, the waste it creates, and what can be done to reduce it. I am now in the process of studying with a client, a ceramics manufacturer, about how their imperfect products, such as sinks and toilet bowls, could be touched up and donated to people who need it within the community, and to include, a free installation as well. I also make it a point to mentor and to help people around me when they reach out. It doesn't have to be work related, not everything is business. I believe that as important as it is to donate money and so on, what can really count for something is to give someone the gift of time. I also do my mentorship work through organizations that I may come across. There's so much we can do, so much that we each can do to live the spirit of the EoC. The EoC is not a spirit of entrepreneurship, but it is of unity and that love and care for the person next to you, not driven by rules and regulations, but a genuine desire to change the world one bit at a time. So with that, I leave you with this last quote. Great changes can be made in the world when enough people start to care. With that, thank you very much for listening to me. All right. Okay. So since I'm one down, let me also introduce you to the next speaker coming on board as well. All right. Our next speaker hails from Vietnam. She is also the managing director of Consulus Vietnam. Everyone, please give a warm virtual welcome to Helena Pham.
Yes, thank you very much, Jonathan, for the beautiful presentation and sharing. And also thank you for the warm welcome and introduction. And on this special day, I'd like to thank you. Special thanks to EoC Asia Pacific Summit 2021 for inviting me to share my humble experience with EoC. So let me start with a very simple story, but it has a lot of meaning in my life. How I got to know EoC. 45 years ago, it was raining hard outside. A mom of three working for the government. She saw a street vendor selling tomatoes, got caught by the rain outside her house. She approached the auntie, opened the door, and offered her a shelter. Heart to heart, soul to soul, from a mom to a mom, they have become good friends since then, for more than 45 years. So this is a story that inspired me since I was a child. As many Vietnamese youth, I was taught to treat everyone equally because nobody is lesser to others. I was taught that giving is living and that I should practice giving not only when I'm full and abundant, but also as long as I have something to share. For me, and I believe it's for everyone else here, this is the spirit of EoC. And I'm very happy that I have known and being part of EoC officially since 2017 and naturally since my childhood. Now, I'd like to invite all of you just to envision a world together with me where everyone is treated equally, where everyone is a living EoC. This is the title of my sharing. And just give some time for yourself, and then I will like to invite you to walk through with me the world that I've been living in. Giving is living. Practicing this has been a source of empowering energy for me. So for those who know me, I'm always full of energy. I have great smile and I know how to take advantage of it and inspire people using my smile. My heart smiles whenever I see a spontaneous act, a good act on the street. Like when I see a policeman has an elderly cross the street, I can smile. When I see a young man helping a vendor carry the cargo to the supermarket, even though this is not his job to do, my heart smiles. My heart smiles when people come together to give, to share what one has, including time, skills, energies, tips, experience, and even money. I'm enriched and fulfilled whenever I'm able to help someone, inspire someone by sharing about what I know, what I've been through, or simply by being a listening ear. Everyone is equal. I think it's the same for everyone as well. Practicing this has made me more present, wiser, and more wholesome every day. You may be surprised because I really like to talk to people from different walks of life. Sometimes when I take a Grab bike to work, and this is the driver student, I like to talk to him to know how his life is, why he's taking this job, how does it support his work and career in the future, and so on and so forth. I like to talk to the CEO at work to see what inspires him to do what they are doing. I like to talk to the cleaning lady in the office building. For me, every one of us has unique perspective and stories to learn from. Who I am and what my company does. Yes, I'm Helena. I'm the Managing Director of Consulars Vietnam, a member of company of Consulars Global, global innovation by design consultancy firm. So just to let you know, in 2017, I met EoC and Pope Francis in February. And I only noticed just now is in the same year, in October, I decided to set up Consulars Vietnam as a legal entity with a very high aim to help more and more Vietnamese companies and leaders to become the champions in what they do, to play a bigger role in developing our country while holding dear to our values of inclusiveness, unity, giving, and resilience. Let me invite you to travel with me to Vietnam and some of and experience with me some of the activities that I've done and be part of over the years. So here's some of my social work with my friends and communities is called Live with Passion Club, and Giving is Living Charity Fund. So using the same fundamental or principles of EoC, we fundraise to build schools and buy books to fight poverty of education. We fundraise to build floating house to fight climate change. And in the mid of COVID-19, we also fundraise to help the doctors and nurses and all the kids who are in need. So these are all my friends, all the activities we have done over the past 10 years. And professionally, apart from being a consultant, I try to conduct a lot of trainings with my entrepreneurs club. I'm also a member of Hanoi Association of Women Entrepreneurs. I like to give speech. I like to share my ideas, my insights, my experience with the youth, with the entrepreneurs, with everyone. And I like to connect, to organize sharing circles where everyone can be themselves, can share what they learn. And I like to connect people with people using all the networking events. So I'm also part of the alumni. I used to be the vice president of the NTU alumni of my school for about 4 or 5 years. Yes, so just to highlight, so from the beginning, we have heard a lot and we have listened to a lot of stories. And I have also talked to a lot of friends about EoC. And the first impression is EoC may sound very, very idealistic and big to some. But for me, it's a mindset that we practice every day, is an act we do every day without even thinking about it. Because for me, I believe it's already within and is part of who we are, which is why I believe this is why we are all here today. So I thank you all for being who you truly are, for sharing time, knowledge, and energy, and for being a living EoC every day. Last but not the least, the story I shared just now is by my mom, and this is her friend for 45 years. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Helena. That's so nice. And if again, just to mention, to remind everyone as well, if you've got any questions, please also start putting them in the chat box. Then we'll start to answer them during the Q&A session. Well, up next, from Vietnam, we now travel a little bit further. Our next speaker is the Chief Executive Officer of Clean Groundwater Tech. Now, they're in the business of producing and utilizing groundwater monitoring sensors and analyzing groundwater level data using algorithms. Best that he explains it to you because I have no clue what that means. Now, let's say hello to Pilson Yoon Raphael from South Korea. Welcome, Raphael.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's my great pleasure to be with you today. So I will share my screen. Oops. Yeah. Oh, it's a second page. Yeah. So my name is Prescient. And I manage an environment startup company in Korea called Clean Groundwater Tech, specialized in groundwaters. The easiest access to fresh water for men can be found in groundwater. The groundwater also furnishes drinking water and water for agriculture, used for over 2 billion people around the world. In Korea, groundwater comprise 8% of total water resource. And groundwater, which is so vital to our life, is facing its crisis this day. This is so because the sharp increase of human populations cause a greater production of food, as well as a consumption of very large quantity of drinking water. Also drought and heavy rain caused by climate change have made the matter even worse. Scientists warn that these signs of today will result in disaster for our future generations. In real life, in real life, the reckless use of groundwater has caused the depletion of groundwater as well as land substance. Why is not put? Yeah, then substance result in the permanent loss of space for strong storing water, tilting of building, the creation on sinkhole, the threaten our safety. I have exclusively researched in geology, and I found a startup company 3 years ago in 2019 because I want to solve the problem of water and groundwater using technology and research data. My mission as an entrepreneur is to provide information on safe and sustainable water supply based on the information on water channel of groundwater. It is through this information that we try to solve our planet's water scarcity and ground maintenance problem. To solve this problem, we thought it is essential to find the cause before the problem occurs, or to accurately monitor the change in groundwater prior to the appearance of danger sign. For the monitoring the groundwater, we need to have an observing sensor which can be easily installed and which indicate the flow of groundwater on the map. We are developing such a solution and related service. Interpreting the flow of natural water and the natural friendly use of water will contribute to reducing the cost of water supply. We are a young team. We find a way for each of us to contribute while overcoming failures together. When a failure does happen, another chance is given, and we analyze together the reason for the failure, educating ourselves in the process. We also have assistance for groundwater specialists and business consultants in Korea, as well as from foreign students studying in Korea and Korea Water Resource Development Corporation, SK Water. Diverse information on technology verification and management and the world's water-related problems is obtained and shared among the various specialists. Because we cannot see the groundwater, people have used it without proper planning, resulting in many problems, even though groundwater is invisible to our eyes and therefore does not receive the attention that is deserved. It is a very important resource to all mankind. If we don't maintain it well, the future generation will suffer even more. As an EoC startup entrepreneur, I try to solve the problems that result from the poor maintenance of groundwater by interpreting its flow. However, the effort of an individual is not enough. It is only when we have the attention of innumerable people that we can find a solution to our fundamental problems. Thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you, Raphael. There's definitely some very, very important work coming out from South Korea and Raphael, and we'll definitely be keeping a very, very close eye on developments as well with this company.
I'm sorry.
Suddenly there was a party. Okay, let's... The next speaker I'm going to be introducing is Aiza Asi. She is from the Philippines, and she is currently pursuing her doctorate in economics and management at Sofia University in Italy. So let's take a listen to what she has to say.
Hi everyone, my name is Aiza. I am from the Philippines, and currently I am here at Sofia University Institute in Lopiano near Florence, Italy, where I'm doing my doctorate in economics and management. My research basically deals with the intersection between the spiritual dimension and business continuity, the spiritual dimension of family firm owners, and continuity in terms of both ownership and values preservation. Sophia University is one of the rare universities that dare to put the word civil in the teaching of economics, a new way of looking at man, work, and the environment, a place where economic thoughts and the narratives of people who believe in business, as a place where our humanity is fully realized, coincide. Realistically speaking, we really do have many reasons to be fearful. But can we transform fear into a leap of courage that gives substance to this living together in our pluralistic society? The economy, which by now has assumed the neurotic trend and the toxic mood of the most extreme part of finance, becomes a factor of instability. At this rate, we are running towards an unimaginable future built on contingencies which are perhaps planned or perhaps dreamt up by some strategist who knows how to predict or maybe manipulate the moves of this multipolar world of prominent figures with multiple personalities. Every day we hear of famine, of disaster, fighting, killing, war, and various negative repercussions on one's personal life and in the social sphere brought about by pandemic. And we tend to ask the question, what can I do? But well, this is a good preparatory question towards a more mature cooperative involvement until we arrive at posing ourselves the question, what can we do together? Our strength comes from a collective effort and initiatives. There were defining moments in history that have pinballed the world into taking a different course in pursuit of the common good. The right to vote is a common good, and the quest for this good was not missing in history until it was made equal for both men and women. Whether it was a flash of a second, a rising revolution, these flashes altered the course the society was treading and were all sealed by a collective spirit. Even a single person who took a stand was never alone. They were turning points that would change our world and alter our lives permanently. Our strength comes from a collective actions. Our strength is unity. I believe that the greatest challenge EOC poses to young people is the courage to look back at that very thing that inspired Chiara Lubick 30 years ago to found EOC. That is, the economy inspired by the communion and the communion informed by the economy. I believe that EOC needs young people capable of navigating between these two tracks up to the point of triggering osmosis from theory to practice and vice versa. There are those who are called to economics or to study economics. Ours is to give a soul to economics in the light of communion. An economy where the rules of the game are written in the language of civil society, bringing back trust, gratuity, and reciprocity in the economic lexicon. There are those who are called to put up their own business, become entrepreneurs, but doing business in the service of the community and as a social domain for an integral human development. One of the characteristics of young people that cannot be underestimated is the ability to dream, to imagine a better world, and to inspire others to do the same, especially at a time when it seems to us that the world does not understand us. In the biblical episode of the multiplication of bread, which is profoundly a sharing of the loaves and fish, I would like to put in the foreground the figure of the young man who actively contributes to the realization of the miracle. Jesus multiplies the loaves and fish that the young man has placed in his hands. This is what cooperation means, that is, to assist in the miracle that God performs. To cooperate is to assist in the miracle that God performs. The simple gesture of boy's generosity provided the raw material to feed so many people. His little and yet his all, passing through the hands of the Lord, becomes the capital of the common good. This is the task entrusted to us young people, to become like the boy in the gospel, generous protagonist of the change that marks the future. Ours is not simple enthusiasm, but a choice which has a price. The gospel message is clear. Jesus institutes the ministry of caring, dare to care, a theme that ventures to unleash our true selves. One must give of one's own what one has, who one is. This is spiritual capital. The road will not be easy, and we have experienced it, but this world is not only made up of young people, and we have to admit we need a hand. We are indeed writing the story of today, and we have to write it well so that we can narrate it tomorrow to the generations to come. It is our heritage. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Isa. Isa is actually here. She was spotlighted earlier. Now she's out. There we go. So, like I mentioned earlier, you can type in your questions for her if you have any, and we'll be taking them during the Q&A session. All right. So, from where she is now in Italy, right? We are coming back to Asia, and we have an artist next. Getse Nadik from Yogyakarta, Indonesia, is an entrepreneur and founder of Batik Danau Toba, a company that produces handmade and custom batik paintings for the fashion industry. If you guys noticed my presentation earlier, I was wearing two batik shirts. Actually, it comes from Getse's shop, right? So let's give Getse a warm welcome.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ciao, everyone. Good day to all of you. And first of all, I would like to thank especially for Lawrence, who can bring me closer to the EoC. Before, EoC is for me just like a beautiful song far away, just a little sound in my ear. But now it seems more clear to me what is EoC is. By the way, I will continue my presentation. My name is Getse. I'm a small entrepreneur from Yogyakarta province, Indonesia. Our business is to produce handmade batik painting for fashion with our own authentic design. We are also capable to do any batik custom design. I'm starting the business by accident actually. May 27, 2006, earthquake destroyed Yogyakarta province. September 2008, I decided to do social work experiences, so I worked with an NGO to help the earthquake victims. During that period, we met a group of batik artists that are bankrupt because of two big sufferings, which is really destroy their market business. First is suicide bombing in Bali 2005, because Bali is their product market, and then continue with the earthquake in 2006. Okay, I'm on my phone. Our NGO start to help them by giving them work and to look for the market overseas, mostly to Europe. But in 2010, the buyer from Europe stopped the demand because of the economic crisis. I was really sad with the condition because our NGO was not able to continue to help them. We really have a very good relation with them, really like a family. In 2011, I said to myself, I have to do some work with them. An idea came to my mind is to do batik where the design are not available in the market. It must be authentic. The province where I was born is not Sumatra, where batik product is not our culture, but weaving. So I decided to create batik that telling something about the culture of North Sumatra, and I'm dreaming that my design will become a new culture for my people of North Sumatra and the whole Indonesia. 4 years after I start my business, I found many people of North Sumatra follow my way. The challenge came, which is some of them I found copy-paste my design, printed it, and sell it in a very low prices. It makes me angry sometimes, but also happy when I realize that my design can inspire them too. What I need to do is always productive with new design, and all my clients notice my product by design itself. I'm not an experienced person in doing business. The main key that I have is to see Jesus in everyone, like Chiara Lubick teaches us. That is why when those who work for my product produce low quality or rejected product, we never cut their wages. However, we look for the idea to make it become another nice product. And most of the time, we pay their wages in advance. Difficult moment arrived when the COVID-19 hit the world. Shops that we used to supply stopped their demand, and I'm not able to give a meaningful job to my colleagues. I can only provide in a very low quantities. EoC for me is a gift from God. In the last few years, I'm a bit jealous with our Muslim friends with their Sharia economic system. And I'm telling to myself, why we are Christian didn't have economic system? And I found the EoC is the answer for my question. For me, EoC is not only economy of communion, but also economy of Christianity. Again, thank you for hearing us again. Have a good day.
Thank you, Getse. Just to mention, the shirts that I bought didn't come from the knockoffs. Thank you very much, Getse, for your sharing. Now, our final speaker is someone I'm very happy to introduce. She has been a freelance interpreter and translator for over 10 years, and she also happens to be sharing my hosting duties for this summit. She comes from Malaysia. Now let's welcome back Teresa Go.
Hello, it's me again. So as Jonathan said, I'm the last speaker, so please bear with me. All right, I don't have a presentation, but I really hope you lend me a listening ear to listen to my story. So good afternoon again. I'm Teresa Go, and I'm a freelance interpreter and translator for 10 years. Well, I never thought interpreting would ever be my career, as I myself was always among the audience listening to the interpreting when I wasn't too fluent in English. So I've always thanked those who interpreted for me so that I could understand what the speaker was saying. Slowly, I started to help out in the meetings, as they're always held in bilingual in Malaysia. As a volunteer interpreter for the meetings, I polished and mastered the language better, picked up the simultaneous and consecutive interpreting skills that leads me to my passion and ambition in my interpretation and translation career. My brother and his family supported me a lot as I was staying with them, while I gradually built up my connection and clientele in legal interpreting, business meetings, conference interpreting, government press conference, and even global events abroad. So what are the struggles as a freelancer? I started interpreting after quitting a routine teaching job at a university. It was a big move as I went from fixed pay to inconsistent income. Sometimes the jobs are also seasonal. For example, the main festivals like Chinese New Year, Eid, or year-end will be very quiet. So you would expect low income for those months, and we do some translations work to cover. Speaking of which, we are also required to be very flexible to take on a variety of jobs, from work manual to audio recording transcription. Sometimes the deadline is also crazy. So we not only need to learn how to manage our finance, aka money, to save up for the quiet times, and also to manage our time. Since there are no accreditation, as this is a very small industry, they are also uncontrolled competition. So as interpreter, our job is a loner job. You know, as a simultaneous interpreter, you have a partner whom you work with, and we do not form a union as we are also competitors, and there are too few of us, if you understand what I mean. In order to build a community, I started to express my thoughts to my fellow interpreter colleagues. Some like the idea of having healthy competition among us, like not simply dropping our price, and also help one another not to be exploited by the agencies, working in an ethical and safe environment, and etc. And whenever we meet to share the challenges at work, it also brings us closer as a group. As much as we are competitors, we also welcome new members. We believe that if the other person is good, it is also better for us to strive as a team, especially during simultaneous interpreting. On top of that, sometimes the client do not appreciate our job. That's how I find it difficult. They would comment by saying, I could do that also. Why do you charge so high, so much? It is our job trying to let them understand, help them to understand that we bridge the language barrier seamlessly for them. It does take up a lot of brain power doing a one full day of interpreting. So we usually take a few days before to prepare, and after that, a day to recover. It is tough, but it is interesting at the same time. I would go on and on about my job, but maybe next time. For that, I would like to take this opportunity to really thank today's interpreters who are really working so hard behind the scene, which in the main room we are not hearing at all, okay? So, EoC spirits, how to give, still give when I have so little. This is my experience. So my first encounter with EoC was at a summer school in Paris 2014. I'm very fortunate as it set an excellent foundation for me to start my freelance career. As I mentioned earlier, being a freelancer at the early years with very inconsistent income, it doesn't stop me from wanting to help the poor and the needy ones, to contribute my little part in changing the economy and to make it a better place for everyone. I remember one time, my ex-colleagues from the university reached out to me for some money as her husband was struggling financially and the 4 children needed money for food and schooling. Although I was still waiting for assignments, knowing that she needed it more than I do, I gave all I had to her. And after that, I was offered a new assignment. So I know in a way, good deeds get repaid. And I was just a tool to share the resources I had to those in need. Or at times, I'm asked to do volunteer translation. I always gladly agree to do it as well, since I think of those who receive the message in their own language would be pleased. It gives me real fulfillment and courage to continue to give and care in my own talent, which is interpreting and translation. So what is the best effect of living EoC principles and what makes me different? Also, as jobs don't come by easily, every time when I have an assignment, first of all, I'm always grateful for it, to have it. And then I will perform it as if it were my last, giving my very best. I realize that when I do that, I build not just strong connection with clients, but we also become real friends after that, because they feel that I genuinely care for them. And when together we work for events, the atmosphere and teamwork was superb. Although the pandemic has reduced many working opportunities, But the reference that I received from the previous clients not only were very professionally written, but I can also feel the friendship that we have built is very warming. So as a summary, indeed, it is really not easy to do something different. Honestly, it is also very scary. But we are called to do something different in this world. By living the EoC principles, I dare to care for others and always give. This helps me grow and also overcome challenges in my own career and my life. To do something different is not always easy. Many times we're not being understood, and also we have to try to find ways to thrive. But with EoC spirits and principles, I believe the value is right, and we are one big family in this civil economy system, this inclusive economy system. Also, what comforts me is that I know that there is an EoC community behind my back who also strive at their own place, own ways, continue impacting the economy. So I'm not alone. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Very nice, Teresa. Thank you. All right. So let us get all our speakers up front, meaning in our context, spotlighted. There we go. Let's find all of them. There we go. Helena is there. So like I mentioned, this is where we have a little opportunity for some Q&A. There are a couple of questions that have come in already, but I'll give you a chance to be typing as well before I start asking the panel the questions. All right. Yes, and thank you once again to everyone. Okay, maybe we can just, yeah, there we go, where everyone can see us. Also to the panelists yourselves, feel free to throw questions at each other, but don't push away the question that is meant for you. Okay, so I'm speaking very slowly because like what Teresa mentioned, if we speak too fast, we are really not being very kind to all the wonderful translators. It's not an easy thing. I remember when I was in Italy and I had to translate from Italian to English, and I just wanted to cry. I don't have the patience for such a job. So thank you to people like Teresa and all our wonderful translators. Okay, so I've got the first question up for today, and that question I will direct it to Helena. Okay, all right. I will direct this question at Helena. Let me just show the question to everyone. How do you create EoC communities within your organization or amongst your associates? So thank you to the person out there for the question, but because Helena is a very interesting case, because we talk a lot about, we talk a little bit about Christianity, a little bit about religion, but we have to also know that the EoC is open to everyone, and actually Helena doesn't have a particular religious affiliation. Am I correct, Helena?
Yes, I'm a free thinker.
Yes. So please, how do you?
Very much.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think it's not easy to answer, but I try to answer within my own experience. And as a matter of fact, today I have a few friends from Vietnam joining our EoC Congress. They are the first to know about EoC. I have Sarah, my client, my friend, my sister from Vietnam. I have Thao from also Hanoi, my university friend, and a few others. So basically how I share or how I attempted to expand the EoC network in Vietnam is I just start from my own experience and then share the vision, because my personal goal is towards the end of the day, I mean the end of this year we'll have a chapter for Vietnamese. Then we will be able to have also a channel for interpretation, translation, so that everyone who cannot speak English can also access these beautiful sharings from everyone. So my personal experience from my circle of friends on contact is just get to know, share, because I already know them in person. I know their heart, their souls, what they are truly are, what they really want through their work. So this is where we connect. So that's with the social, with the external network. Within my company, I think we are blessed enough. For some of you, if you have known about Confluence, we are a living EoC enterprise. So yeah, we are living our unity. We share with one another. We respect one another. We have a lot of social projects. It's already part of our DNA every day. So I don't need to. We don't need to motivate them anymore, because it's already them when they first step in the network. Yeah. So that's. Hope that answered the question about how.
Very good. Thank you.
About
Thank you,
to
Helena.
expand.
But I'll throw back this same question as well, because Isa is in an interesting position, because she's classified as, you know, a learned individual, you know, part of the academe and, you know, an academic. So for Isa, how would you answer this question about bringing this spirit of EoC to the people around you? How would you do it in your setting?
Good morning. Good morning in my side and good afternoon to that side. No, well, there are two major roles economists play in this world. The first one is a scientist who tries to explain the world, and the other one is as policy advisors who tries to improve the life of the people, not being alone, but together with policymakers and with the natural and social scientists and the rest of the company. As we all know, the economy, also in the lecture this morning, comes from the Greek word oikonomia, which literally means home management, that needs to be treated as life of home management. And every day we are called to manage our common home and be our brothers keepers of the same human family. We protect our family by maintaining the dwelling place safe for everyone. In the family, under the same roof, we protect one another, we care for one another, and we make sure there is enough for everyone. And I think this is a call for everyone to be agents of communion, capable of being custodians of family members, stewards of the common home, and ambassadors of the common good. This is the task entrusted to everyone, not only to us, but I think to every one of us. Thanks.
Thank you, Isa, for that. So, you know, it's very interesting, because the six of us, or is it the seven of us? Six of us, you know, we represent very, very different aspects, you know, because there's a lot of people out there who think that the economy of communion is only for the businessman or the entrepreneur, but, you know, we represent a very, very diverse group. Now, this next question comes and is directed at Raphael, actually. So it's a very long question, and I will read it slowly for the benefit of our interpreters, translators as well. Give me 1 second. Let me just share the question. I suppose some of your clients are city governments or state or provincial governments. Do you also use meteorological satellite data and predictive analytics to forecast risk seasons? For example, the current drought in Taiwan. And you warn your clients of periods when rainwater would be low. Raphael, you are on your own for this one. Huh? You have to unmute yourself.
So these mistakes. Ah, okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah. I will play already, but yeah, I will talk more. So yeah, I'm collecting many kind of free data from NASA and Korean government and other places, many free sites. So yeah, I will supply the many data and for guest modeling and another thing for making the good result for safe using of groundwater and water supply. So now we are developing. We made the sensor now, and we are making the algorithm now. And finally, we will offer the system, but not is now we are talking about the density and just a small small local government now.
Okay, I hope the person out there, your question has been answered. Rafael, we are so sorry that we cannot help you with your answer, but I hope that has answered that question. Okay, so I have got another question here as well. Teresa and Getse, don't be so comfortable there, because this one is for you as well. Now, this next question is all about what does it mean to have this inclusive economy? Because there's many different interpretations of what an inclusive economy is, depending on which part of the world you come from. Like in Singapore, for example, when they say inclusive economy, it means that everyone must have enough money to buy a bungalow, which is not the case. But most people in Singapore might think that. So I will throw this question to Teresa first and let Getse have a chance to answer this. But let me just flash the question up. What does it mean to have an inclusive economy? This is by definition from the inverted commas young people.
Okay, I'll answer this question then. I think for inclusive economy, because as I think everyone in this economy system plays a part, because we do something somehow, we work, we make money. I think everyone in life is in the economy. When we spend money, we use money to get things. We cannot say that we don't need money, because it is life, it is reality. And we all play a part because it is a system that we are all in. An inclusive economy means that everyone should have their share and dignity in the work that they do. Not everybody will be bosses. Then no one will be on the road selling the fruits that we like to eat, So I think inclusive as in like everyone is treated as human being, and they give a value to economy and really to care for one another, because everyone has this ability to give. Doesn't mean that if he is making 10, I would say pounds, I mean, if he makes 100 ringgit a day, and then if he sees someone who is more in need, he would give. And this is already a value of EoC spirits there. So it has to be an atmosphere that everyone can live like a family.
Okay, but just a question, just to interrupt you there slowly, right? Because a lot of people might be saying, especially during a time of a pandemic like this, and everyone, they are all looking out for themselves. So what do we say to these people who might answer you, Teresa, are you crazy, right? But I have to look after my family first. What do we say to such people?
I think the virus doesn't recognize people. Just like caring and sharing is not like yes, we have to do it for ourselves, but I think when we do it all together, it's much easier. I think in this pandemic time, everyone is helping one another. We can see in many ways. So even though in the pandemic, I think it gives hope. I think hope is really important in this time, even for young people and even for the economy and in pandemic as well. Yeah, that's from me.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, Getse. Now I put you in an uncomfortable position now, Getse. Simple question, but it's deep in that sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, John. That's why it's difficult for me to give an answer. Simple question always need a very hard answer. For me, an inclusive economy, just like Teresa just mentioned, in which each one of us can take care of one each other. No, even it's difficult for me to put into practice, but I try to do something for, especially in the work that I'm doing. No, even in the pandemic situation, but I know that it's difficult for me to sell my product, but I try the idea, maybe this is the moment to make a new design, so it will not sell for these seasons, so it become a new design for the future. So this is the step that I can do for my colleagues, so they can also have a little income. So just to be open and try to be creative as much as you can, so the people will can take or you can give something to the people around you. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Getse. I think also, and what you mentioned is very true. This creativity part, because like in Singapore, for example, right, maybe most people might think, oh, Singapore has poor people, question mark, question mark. But we do have, and I think what this pandemic has exposed as well is that there are so many differences, not just whether there are people sleeping on the streets or not. Like, for example, those people who are selling food from the hawkers, because we don't have street hawkers in Singapore, but we have hawker centers. But there are a lot of people as well who don't know how to use social media or platforms to sell their food. So actually what's happening in Singapore as well, to be more inclusive and to make sure that the pie is shared, a lot of people have been somehow identifying stores that's owned by older individuals who don't know how to tap on social media and sharing on their behalf, sometimes leading to a point where they sell out within half a day. But I think this is where not just the young people, but everyone, we really have to think out of the box in terms of trying to so-called spread this wealth a little bit better as well. Okay, we got another couple of questions. This one actually is going back to Helena. I'm not picking on you on purpose, right? Because you are popular. Okay. So this is question to Miss Helena Pham. What is the impact, by your own definition, that you have been making in Vietnam?
Wow. Thank you very much for the question again. Okay, so the impact I like to share at different levels, because in every way, for me, I believe it doesn't need to be big. It doesn't need to be a lot of money for you to make an impact. So like for me and my team and my friends at the personal levels, through our social work, right, we managed to spread out the habit of giving to the fundraising activities. Just to let you know, we used to publish all the amount next to the name of the person in the past. But over the past few years, we decided to change that, because every single amount matters. It doesn't matter how it is a lot of 10,000 million dong or just 50,000 dong, is the same act of goodness, and we treasure all. So that's why we hide all the amount now. So that's the reason why we can mobilize or attract a lot of donors over the years. No matter what activities, what initiative we put out there on our Facebook, we can activate it within only 2 days. Usually that's the case. So because people are in the habit of giving nowadays, because one of our activities, through our activities, that's for personal level. At the speaking level, I believe speaking, writing, and sharing with the youth, my personal impact is I am able to enable and empower the youth to be more confident and willing to share their unique gifts every day. So to be proud to share, I've been managed to work with 3 universities in Vietnam and 1 university in Myanmar for doing so. At the professional level, yes, this one maybe you want to talk to Lawrence, but basically we have been in Vietnam since 2008, so 13 years this year. So we managed to work with a lot of leaders to make sure they set a higher purpose for their business, not just profit, but you are here for a bigger reason. And also in technical terms, I think many times I talk to the CEOs or the chairman to make sure they know that they are paved the long pathway for their business. So they need to play the integrity rules right now, pay all the tax, make sure is compliance, make sure all the things are transparent so that they can grow further. So it's simple way yeah, that's for the professional level. This is how we impact through the leaders and through creating a communion way of life in their own companies through restructuring and organizing the cultures for their companies. So yes, if you want to know more, just email us. We can have a full session with you about this.
Yes, you can definitely get in touch with Helena and listen to a couple of more hours of experiences. Definitely. Thanks, Helena. Okay, some more questions. Coming in. We're coming in thick and fast, and we only have about 10 minutes left. So I will try my best to address all the questions. But we also have time that's a threat to this wonderful moment. Okay, so this question that came from the chat box: the pursuit of the common good is very ideal. But when conditions are dire and the business is under threat of bankruptcy or discontinuing, in what ways do we address employees' livelihood? that's a challenging one. So, Teresa.
Do you want to answer that, Jonathan?
Oh, I see. So the ball has been shot back to the moderator. Very good. Okay. I think it's very different depending on the industry first and foremost. I think for me last year with my team, when the pandemic hit, and we knew that a lot of potential clients were pulling out of contracts, and we lost big contracts, for sure, because our clients were closing down and potential clients were closing down. But when it came to my team, I sat down with the founder of the company, and we thought about it long and hard, and we knew that we told each other this, and we said, okay, if we can keep our losses, we don't have a very big team, right? But if we can keep our losses for this year to a small 6-digit or a high 5-digit, then it would have represented some success for us already, even though we were taking a loss. But we agreed that even though that was the case, and that did happen, that we would still take care of the team. And even every one of my team, they were concerned, because we have some of our team members who are based in the Philippines as well, in other countries. And they're all worried about their livelihoods because their spouses were losing jobs and all that. But we said no matter what, we would still keep to that. And if anyone needed to take a pay cut, it would be my boss first. I told him, I said, it would be you first, and then after that, it will be me, that kind of thing. But we wanted to make sure that as much as possible, the team will be kept together and that salaries would be maintained, because we knew that people were going to be in for a very difficult time. But I think for those businesses that's really facing bankruptcy and discontinuing, I think where I've actually advised one of my clients who actually lost his business, a travel agency. We actually sat down together and we tried to help some of his staff, not all of them. We couldn't help all of them, to try and find jobs in other companies. So I tried to link up with some of my clients from other industries to see whether they had any job openings or something on the part-time. I think this is the moment where we really have to tap on our networks, and try to help. I mean, we can't help every single person, but if every single person tries to help every single person, then we will have a better outcome. Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to say, but that's what I'm doing currently. Okay. So more questions. That was a hard one.
I have a question.
Very good.
Can I have a question then?
Yes.
I mean, I was just thinking, because we are all young people. I mean, we are the future voices as well. And sometimes many young people is a bit afraid and hesitant to join EoC, or really to be associate this EoC spirit. What can we actually brainstorm here to think of how we can actually encourage them, or what can we say to them? Any ideas, guys?
Teresa wants to shoot questions too. Go ahead, Teresa. Who do you want to answer this question?
I don't know. New one. Isa gets a Raphael.
Okay, maybe I can start now. Well, in the EoC, we create special incubators for new EoC companies like promoting startup business and some sort of an agenda to develop entrepreneurial skills of the youth. In the same sense, I think, this is in my opinion, we need to apply the same principle in incubating the youth themselves. I mean, through continuous formations, not only as an occasion for the passage of competence, but to favor dynamics of reciprocity. Both generations learn from one another and hold occasions to celebrate the values of EoC, reciprocity, trust, and gratuity, and create an atmosphere of joy that ignites the passion of being agents of change. I think continuity is the key word. Thank you.
Nice. Okay, I got this question. Wow, it's an interesting one. So the question is, how can we explain this too ideal and too utopic idea to the young people who are wanting to gain more profit in running a business? Ooh.
I'll answer this.
Okay,
I went to the summer school. I learned from there, from Teresa.
Ah.
And that also helped me to understand, really, to living the EoC spirit is you cannot make losses. Try not to, because we need any business or any work is, I mean, in the EoC spirit, we mentioned a lot of times is providence. Even though my job, I would say that many comes really given, but that is because we have to work hard to get the job. And also when we do well the job, the good cycle will come again and again. And then because you do well, and then you get job again, and then you will have money. You have to make money to take care of your life and your family and people around you. And really when you have all this surplus, and you can also give extra above the surplus to people you see in need. I think that is, for me, that's always how I would encourage young people around me. I would say, you know what, when you do it, when you give, always many times you'll be given. I mean, to me, myself, I always say that because it is a real example. I would always do this practice. I know this is not right, but whenever I don't have a job, I will always make sure I will look at more and be sensitive to the people in need around me. Because when I go and live this out, I somehow get job, and it happens all the time for me. I am very happy to say that it is. I think this is somehow a very, it's a spirit that keeps me going, all the time, to really encourage the others to also to as also a model as well for young people to really do well, but and then other things will come. That's for me.
All right. Okay. We just got time for one more question, and I think I'll throw this question to Raphael, and also to Getse, whom I will not let him rest for too long. Okay, this question, let me just flash it out here. Okay. Because it's something I mentioned earlier, but what does it mean really, right? When people read this, what do you mean by love at the workplace? You talk about relationships, of course not. But how do you love that person as your neighbor, as a boss, or as an employee? What do you encourage your people to do? Oh, Raphael is on mute.
Yeah. So it's too hard for me. So I want to say, for this common sense, I'm asking many times, what is common sense? So in the workplace, most important thing, I am focusing on the salary and the environment and many things, but I want to say about human. If someone told me, if I accept their opinion, that is really important. If the opinion is not good, I have to talk with him or her. I think that is most important. That in the work, that is most important for me. So I want to say about communication. communication, and common sense. Yeah, when according to our conversation, we can make a salary and we can make the policy. And I'm CEO, so I have many authority for making decision. But when I make decision, I want to attach their opinion. And yeah, so now my company has the vacation for 1 month, almost 1 month for 1 year. In Korea, there is really different. it's a really different policy. Yeah, like this we can talk and we can make another decision and we can make the strategy about marketing and yeah that time. But I'm asking many times, that is your common sense, can you accept? Sometimes I cannot accept. So yeah, employer and CEO we are human, we are people, we are same. I want start from that. So yeah, now I don't know the future, but yeah, I think that is really nice and this is right. So I want to go further go. Yeah, at the future. Now I believe that the process is right. So if I fail in the future, I can learn from the good process. This is my common sense and I'm talking to my employer. So yeah, I want to say that, just that.
Common sense, everyone. That also
Yeah.
constitutes about love. How about Getsy? Do you have something? I'll leave you with the last word on this.
For my case, we don't have boss and an employee, because my way of doing is to make like a college of friends. No, say I bring job to their homes, so I do my design at home, and then I send it to their homes, and then they can do it in their homes. At the same time, they take care for the families. So we are like a friends. So we never knows what is boss and what is employee. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that, we've run out of time, unfortunately. But yes, Teresa, you're there, right? We've run out of time very, very sadly. And with that, we have come to the end of day 1 of the EoC APEC Summit. Time has flown by for sure, but I am definitely not Zoom fatigued. It was a good discussion because it has been such a wonderfully enriching days. And of course, thank you very much to all our panelists, our speakers, and of course, our guest speakers, Professor Luigino Bruni, Mr. Coloma, Miss Margaret Karam, and all of you wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people who have joined us today. Also, happening right after this, or a couple of hours after this, is a live broadcast of the EoC 30th anniversary celebration in Lopiano, Italy. For those of you who would like to have more information and listen to more wonderful experiences, you can join that party with this link that Teresa has just added on the Zoom chat. The event will begin at about 7 p.m. I hope I'm correct with that. 7 p.m. Singapore time or 1 p.m. in Italy. All right. So see you tomorrow. Teresa, would you like to say anything? See you tomorrow at the same time. Those of you who have signed up for the 2 days, please do check your emails for the correct link. Do not click on day 1 again. Per favore. 2 p.m. Singapore time. Goodbye, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Jonathan. Great job.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ciao.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Get a picture, everyone. Salamat po.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
고생하셨습니다. 고생하셨습니다.
Ano bang si Yumul?
Angela Subash
Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Noel.
谢谢大家，
Thank you, everyone. See you
谢
tomorrow.
谢。
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nico Loma.
라파엘 수고하셨어요. 잘했어요.
Grazie, grazie.
明天见，See you tomorrow。
한미
Thank
통보
you.
谢谢。
I'm counted.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Mata
much.
Cebu. Hindi ako makaano eh.
Mata Cebu. Grazie.
Sabi